Okay, we will call the Town of Rochester Town Board June regular meeting to order. Would you stand for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, will do the roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Allen. Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilman Smith is absent. And Supervisor.
Here. The first resolution, we're going to add 2 additions. The town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with the addition of the seeker for local law C of 2022 and the addition of 2 resolutions for refund requests.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mary Lou is not on yet, so we will skip her report for the moment. So we will go to the town clerk tax collector.
All right. For town clerk, month of May, $55,238.05 was collected. Yesterday was the last day for tax payments for the 2022 year. We still have tax bills that could be coming in the next week or 2 because that was a postmark date. So where it stands now, we have collected $6,581,324.83, leaving a balance of $630,459 left to be collected. Compared to last year, that's over $100,000 less. So we've actually collected that much more this year. And penalties, even though the town sets the penalties this year is $24,350, and in the past we usually collect around $32,000. So this tells me more people paid on time, and so that's a good sign. And that's all I have to report on.
Good. For the highway superintendent report, the Queens Highway, Scroon Hill Road, and those 2 roads had paving done on them. They are beginning oil and chip, depending on the weather, later this week. The CHIPS money this year, there was a new allocation for pothole repair specifically. It was a new allocation that has never existed before from the state. So Jeff will be utilizing some of that to fix some areas. The Boyceville Bridge, we have signed the contracts with the New York State DOT to begin that process. We now have in 2 years from the time, I thought it was from the time of grant, but I'm told now it's from the time of contract. So we have 2 years to get the engineering and design done, and any right-of-ways that may or may not have to be accomplished. And Councilman Coleman and myself and Highway Superintendent Fry are holding interviews tomorrow with some of the consultant candidates. The DOT has a short list of pre-approved candidates, 15. We sent opportunity to be considered to those 15. 7 of them replied back as interested, and we're now holding interviews in person with those companies. So we should be moving toward offering a contract to a design and project management firm within the next couple of months, and work toward getting that bridge rebuilt, replaced. We're hoping by the end of 2024, which I know sounds like a long way away, but it's not that far away, so.
So Mike, you saying we have until June now of 24 to get?
I have to verify that. I was told the paperwork says 2 years from award, and I assumed that meant award of grant. And when I was talking to one of the vendors on the phone, he said, no, it's 2 years from award of contract. So I'll have to clarify that. I took it as award of grant, but it just says 2 years from award. And I can see it could mean either way. So we have to have a shovel in the ground by that point, whatever that may be, whether it's December 2023 or June 2024. Yes. Mary Lou, anything to report for attorney report?
Oh, I am still waiting on the Hoots appeal decision. I thought for sure it would be out by now, but it did not come out in today's decisions from the appellate division. So we'll check again next Thursday when the next set comes out. And anything else I have will be covered on things that are already on the agenda.
Okay. The supervisor's financial report for May has been filed with the town clerk, and the board members have received a copy by email. The revenue, actually, the apologies, that's a typo. It says April 2022. That should say May 2022. Cut and paste issue. General fund, we got a very nice present from Ulster County in that we got our first quarter sales tax return. So the general fund revenue was $129,635.26. The first quarter was approximately slightly over 57,000 for the sales, and that's for February, March, and April. The highway fund revenue, this is not a time of year when the highway does get a lot of revenue. It's $2,505.84. They will be submitting chips refunding, and that check will either come out in July or early August for the June submittals for chips. For revenue, where we stand for the year, the general fund has received 38.99% of its revenue for the year. The highway fund has received 71% of its revenue. The majority of highway revenue is taxation. So that's where the bulk of it comes from. What was that percent? 71. And if you look on, actually on the sheets I emailed you, it's all the way on the back side. It shows you a year-to-date percentage. Expenditures, the highway fund with abstract 5, it was $323,475.82. That's a correction from the what we the correction discovered at posting from what we approved with the abstract. The general fund, $91,514.71. Street lighting fund, $532.49. The escrow fund, $3,535. The total expenditures in May of 2022 for general fund, $162,803.22. And that is 31.6% of the yearly expenditures. So considering we're at the month of May, we are ahead of our budget. We're doing well, but don't assume everything is spread out equally over the year with both expenditures or revenue. The highway fund had expended $72,471.73, and they are at 48.4% spent. There were some large expenditures for this month for the paving, for the oil and chip work, and this is the time of year when they do expend the majority of their money with that road work. Street lighting fund, $532.49. and the escrow fund, $3,535. Overall, we are in good shape. Revenues are coming in as expected, if not a little bit higher. Expenditures, we've managed to keep them lower than budget. So we're doing well. Supervisor's correspondence report. I've emailed everybody the correspondence. There are a couple things just to bring to your attention that are in that. I emailed you most of them. Some are in paper form. We did receive a letter of interest for Harley Davis for consideration for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We do have a vacancy, an alternate position. I have not yet reached out to the other people who we interviewed, and I want to do that this week. And then we can consider where we want to go with that. We received a notice from the Ulster County Planning Department that 2 properties in Rochester applied to be included in the Ulster County Agricultural District number 3. And there is a public hearing at the county legislature, June 21, 2022 at 7:30. They tell us they do not, the county does not notify surrounding owners of this public hearing. We traditionally do not, but he makes us aware if we decide we want to. We can discuss that later if the board feels that we should notify surrounding owners. We also received back, well, I'll skip that for now. We'll get to that, the lead agency status. So that's the extent of correspondence. Supervisors update. First, I want to congratulate Rondout Valley boys lacrosse and the Rondout Valley girls softball team. Both of them were Section 9. Are they C class?
Yeah, well, softball is A.
Softball is A. Okay. Softball is A. Lacrosse, I believe, is C class. Section 9 champions. Another feather in Rondout's cap to go along with the boys basketball and several others. So congratulations to them. COVID-19 report. As of yesterday, 82% of the county residents have had 1 dose of the vaccination. 75% have completed. There are 271 active cases, 15 in the town of Rochester. There sadly have been 384 fatalities, 8 of them in the town of Rochester. So we are, compared to other municipalities in the county, we are a higher number, but if you look at Walsing, New Paltz, the communities around us, we are in about the same range as many of the southern communities seem to have a larger number of cases. I'm not quite sure why that is, but we tend to fall into that same range. Grant updates. The Algerville Firehouse continues making great progress. The asbestos abatement that had to be conducted for the shingles on the roof was being done this week. We normally have a construction meeting every 2 weeks. We were scheduled to have it yesterday, but because of the asbestos abatement, we're meeting next Wednesday. So I anticipate to see a lot of progress because it'll be 3 weeks since our last construction meeting. Still on target for by the end of summer to have bulk of the work done with the final finished product early fall. Community center, we are still continuing the paperwork closeouts. The architectural vendor has finally submitted their final reimbursements, and Governor's Office of Storm Recovery and I are working through that paperwork to get all that resolved. Once that's done, there's 2 things that we have to do. One is we have to have a sign mounted here that just states the source of the funding for the work that was done here. and we have to sign off that we've received all the warranty paperwork from all the vendors. Then we have to have a final audit of all the files and the paperwork to make sure that everything is there and in the proper place, and all those records have to be retained for a crazy length of time. I forgot what it is. It's something like 12 years or something like that. So we're still dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and this is just what it takes with a federal project to get it finally signed off on. The Boyceville Bridge, I already reported on that. The building department code enforcement record conversion. We are going to go ahead and send the second set of records to them. We sent half. They have not completed that, but I asked Kate to confer with the code enforcement staff, and the portal that we're able to access those records from electronically seems to be working well. So we're going to go ahead, and because we need to be done with this project by the end of, I think it's December 21st. So, we're shooting for the end of November. So in order to facilitate that, by the end of this month, we're going to send the second set of records there. Maybe they'll be done with the first set and we can get them back. If not, the system seems to be working very well. And I'm leaving that to Kate and Alyssa's and Courtney's hands to decide, when we should send and what we should send. So, bathroom, still no luck finding a contractor or an engineer or an architect. I have not had a lot of time to put more time into searching, but I continue to ask around as I run into people, and everybody is slammed. So we will keep trying. They haven't asked for the money back yet, and they won't for at least another 9 months to a year. So we can continue to move forward with looking. The ARPA funding, Mary Lou, this is something I need to speak with you about. I got some notice about if you spend more than a certain amount of money of federal funding, an actual audit is required of that money. We have never achieved that level before, but with ARPA, we maybe do achieve it. However, there was an email that came from the federal finance department that they're simplifying the process for that audit. My guess is because of the ARPA money that probably everybody would have to now do an audit.
Right, and I saw you also sent that to the accountant, and so far as auditing, that's probably who you want to get the advice from, because they do it all the time. But if you need me to look into anything after we hear back from the accountant, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, we just, because of the New York Rising money never rose to the level in 1 year of requiring it. I believe it's $750,000 expended in 1 year of federal money. But with the ARPA money combined with that, last year we were close, maybe over, and this year we definitely will be over that amount. So we'll just have to figure out what the requirements are. Ulster County updates, the various commissions. The EMS committee task force continues to meet. They have sent out a request for proposals for consultants to do a review of that. I forgot the exact title of it, but it's the Intercollaborative Council, I believe, which is made up of 2 town supervisors, the mayor of the city of Kingston, the county executive, 2 members, the majority and minority chair of the legislature chairperson, and the superintendent of BOCES, and 1 community resident. We meet every 6 months. We met yesterday. It's just an opportunity to talk about different ideas, different concerns, and get everybody involved to talk about the same topic. So yesterday the topics were somewhat predictable. It was a lot of the things that we're talking about other places. It was the UCRA and recycling. It was equalization rates and assessors and property values. It was mental health. It was broadband. It was county ARPA money and community ARPA money. And what was the other one? I don't remember the other one. I apologize. But we continue to have those meetings every 6 months. Memorial Day, I want to give a big thank you to the Accord Fire District for organizing the parade. Particular thank you to Vinny Nigro for allowing us to use his sound system at the Veterans Park. A thank you to Amelia Trimpe for the work she and her family did on the gardens there. Pretty excellent job. I want to thank Sebrin Niedema Haynes, who was our trumpet player for TAPS, 11 years old. And I stumbled across a picture of him on Facebook that his mother had posted with holding a trumpet, and I sent her a message and said, would he be interested? And he immediately got with his instructor and practiced and did an amazing job. Want to thank Troy Dunn for being our guest speaker. Thank all the residents who attended, and thank the council members for being involved. I think I've covered everything. So anyway, a great day, a great remembrance for those who've given their lives. And finally, the granary seeker, the intent to seek lead agency. We did get back notice from the town planning board of consenting for the town to be lead agency. We have not heard back from anybody else. I suspect we may not hear back from anybody else. They were submitted by email on Friday, May 6th. It was later in the day, so I'm going to use the Monday the 9th as a receipt date. So June 8th would be the 30 days after notice. So if June 8th comes and passes with nobody applying to be lead agency, at our workshop meeting, I will be presenting a resolution asking for us to designate ourselves as lead agents. And that's all I had. So I'll let you guys go ahead. I'll start with you today, Aaron, because I think last time I started with Adam, so I'm going to mix it up here.
Okay, so I will start with the transfer station. We now have a full staff of 3 people that are working together very well, and are also offering lots of ideas. I went today, I went to have a brief check-in. We ended up having a really nice kind of meeting with the whole staff at the end of the day. So there's lots of ideas, and I am hoping I can work with them a little bit on the budget this year, because there's a lot of energy around improvements that we can make. Another big announcement that I'd like to make, and Mike, this is for you too, is the Town of Rochester Exchange is starting to do some, they're wanting to do some improvements to the area to help keep the water from rushing through that covered area. So they're closing off a portion of that covered area, which means they're not going to be accepting as much as they previously were, which means that you might receive more. As our supervisor, you should be aware of that, and perhaps we can draft a little 2-liner about how it's just temporary, but we won't be able to, we don't have the capacity to accept some of the larger items.
Okay.
One of the improvements they want to make, and I'm not sure if I just need to coordinate with you and Jeff, we'd like to raise up that area with some gravel. So that, because the water, when it rains, just flows through and it gets everything really wet. So we had some ideas. I did want to talk to Jeff about whether or not we could get some item 4 from the highway department.
I'm sure that could be arranged.
Okay,
Either item 4, he may have millings available. So,
yeah, but we had some ideas and expensive, but except for that.
okay.
But that's part of it is blocking out the area, letting those things clear out and then being able to make that so that it's not just, it's kind of a low spot.
Okay.
The other news, is that we are working on applying for one of the DEC grants.
Nice.
And the only issue is that we have to register with the grant in order to see the actual application. So I wanted to talk to you about that and how because we do have someone who is volunteering their grant writing skills. And I'd like them to be able to see the application, but we can't access it until the town has their registry.
Send me the
But
info.
we'll bring a proposal to the board, of course, but we have some big ideas.
Okay, great.
Then there's some other small things that I'll be talking to you and Jeff about with the transportation, but the board are just supplying things. So I missed the ECC meeting this week. It was my first ECC meeting as the liaison that I missed, but I know that legislator was present, and I know that they discussed the tire pull, which they do is an annual event that we do summer. And they had a river sweep update. They also, Judith Karpova has American chestnuts that she's what's the word? Giving to the public. They're free, and she's been finding things for those, so that's exciting. Code enforcement. Oh, oh no, those chipmunks. Those darn chipmunks. Thank you.
Karen, do you know when the tire pull?
I know they were looking at June 18th.
Yeah, I believe that's one of them. They did the river sweep
Yeah,
in April.
Yeah.
Or no.
they did
May.
it at the end of May,
End of May.
I think, and that was at the border of Woolworths and Rochester's Cohasset border that they did that.
The tire pull is getting less and less every year because
They're pulling the tires
they're
out.
pulling the tires out, and they still, the ones that are there are still mostly from that one flood event when the tire place in Cohasset, all the tires washed into the rundown and got buried down in mud, and over the years they're unearthing themselves, and that's what the majority of them come from, that one event, that one flood.
And the ECC is actively looking for new membership, so we do have,
They have one, maybe two.
yeah, I think that's it. So the ZBA, the meeting last month, they had 2 applications, 2 continued applications. One for a area variance for the construction of a garage, but I think they might have figured they're going back and forth to see if to adjust that with the applicant. And another, which is a conveyance of land of 2 non-conforming lots. So that's a very interesting application. For the code enforcement office, I was trying to check in with them today. I didn't get a chance to connect with Jerry, but I did hear that the records management is going well, and they feel like it's going very smoothly. And that's the only update I have for that. As a small agricultural, I guess I'm the agricultural liaison. This also applies to our later discussion, but I do have a meeting with Jeff Kehoe from Ag and Markets on Monday to discuss our proposed zoning changes.
Right.
To see what he thinks that those jive with the Ag and Markets law.
And I reached out to Bert Samuelson, and he said the same person, Jeff Kehoe.
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah, I know him a little bit, so we set something up on.
He apparently is the one who replaced Bob Summers, who was our go-to guy for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so we have that Monday and we'll go through the season.
okay. You finished? We'll go to Michael next. Yeah, your
So,
toes.
Spectrum. So I reached out and I asked for comprehensive breakdown of all the numbers, including Spectrum's contribution. And I kind of got the same rundown of those areas that we were looking at, same numbers saying, you know, we think we contribute this much. By the way, we recommend you do this much and pay for it this way. And so it seems like we're in kind of a vicious circle here. So I think at this point, you know, we have numbers from them. I think maybe we huddle and kind of discuss that. We can figure out and then see if that's something that we want to go back to them with and see what they're working out. I'm concerned based off the fact that they continue to emphasize these specific areas. That if we go to them and say, yeah, let's do it, they're going to think, well, no, I don't know if we want to do that whole thing. Their timeline may be longer than we want. So I think at this point we just take, you know, what they sent us, and I don't know if that's something that's treated as a contract negotiation.
I don't know.
Session.
Why don't you and I chat tomorrow after we do the highway?
Okay.
The bridge. Yeah.
Sounds good. Nothing much of the fire district, although I want to echo your thoughts. Appreciate them helping organize the Memorial Day parade. I think it's incredibly important to honor and remember men and women who have lost their lives in service to the country. So appreciate that. It's a good event and the ceremony afterwards as well. Marbletown First Aid Unit, I was able to stop by their yearly dinner a few weeks ago. It's great to meet some more of their members in person. Also hear some of the work that they're doing for the community. They're currently working on getting their 2023 budget ready, and they said they should still be good with the initial budgetary numbers that they provided to us, looking ahead to formation of the AID, so good news there. And they're also staying steady and responding to 100% of calls. We got the draft contract from KFAS, which they based off of the town of Warsing's contract with Ellenville First Aid Squad. KFAS services portion of the town of Warsing, which is why they wanted, for consistency's sake, to have common contract between two different towns. So I looked at that briefly this morning, and Mike, we can go through that and discuss with Mary Lou and see if there's.
Mary Lou, I'll be forwarding a copy of that to you to take a look at as well.
Thank you.
The April call stats, so 79 calls, 74 which were covered. That's 93.7% coverage rate. They did have some requests from a budgetary perspective that they sent to us, which we can also discuss in terms of the AID formation. Mike, we should have that email as well. They also recently established an advisory board, and they have 4 volunteers that are already members. So if anyone in town is interested, they're looking to add more members to that board. Their goal is to obtain some feedback on the squad's work from members of the community, to educate some key stakeholders in the community about the squad, and ultimately have a back and forth with the community to understand where they can improve and what they're doing well, and get some other ideas. I think it's also an opportunity for people that may not feel that they can participate in terms of actually providing care, to be involved with the squad and provide some additional support that way. Mr. Charles Nurko, who I see is in the room, is going to be chairing that. And so if you have questions about that, directly to the board, or you can reach out directly to KFAS. Follow up. The squad is also looking to bring in a prominent paramedic and educator to host an autism awareness training. I believe that's currently planned for August 3rd. Is that accurate? At 7 p.m. The focus is going to be on communication and de-escalation skills for working with community members with autism. presentation is going to be geared to all first responders. And they plan on opening it up to both neighboring EMS squads as well as the fire district and the constabulary. They also offered if there are town employees that would benefit from that kind of training, that they would extend the invitation as well. So I don't know if there's possibly people in town that want to include that. That is everything.
Good. Adam.
All righty. Constabulary report. The constabulary answered 19 direct calls of service and other duties in May of 2022, including 13 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 3 resident traffic complaints, Upper Cherrytown and Whitfield Road, 3 environmental complaints, Rochester Center Road, Cherrytown Road, Upper Cherrytown Road, 18 new building department violations, 0 court cases were opened, 9 court proceedings remain open, and there were 0 proceedings closed. Interesting occurrences. This month was busy with many calls for service. These included an increased number of complaints regarding traffic volumes, speeds, and an erratic operation of vehicles on town roads. Garbage dumping complaints continued to occur and with more frequency. Much of this month's garbage was household trash variety rather than larger items. Short-term rental properties continue to generate complaints, including trespassing, loud noise, road and driveway blockages, and garbage dumping. We continue to work with the building department on those issues. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have increased this month and have been diffused without further action necessary. The constabulary participated in several special events, including managing traffic for a television shoot and an outdoor public concert. They were honored to assist the Eckford Fire District with the Memorial Day Parade. Due to the apparent slowdown of the COVID-19 pandemic and its variants, the constabulary is beginning to have more direct contact with their complainants, and that's from Rich Miller.
Can I just take 1 second? I want to thank especially one of our constables who's here this evening, Mark Smith. He was part, and along with Rich Miller, was part of that detail for the Arrowwood concert. We went from a concert last year where we probably had 25 or 30 complaints to this year's concert. I did not receive one single complaint about noise, about traffic. That says to me either that they've done a better job, we've assisted better, or that people have just given up, one or the other. But I have a feeling it's the first. So thank you to Rich and Mark for putting in a very long day that day. Also doing double duty going by Depot because that was that 91-degree Saturday. So, and it was packed. But it's services like this, which is why the constabulary works very well for us.
Can I ask a question about the constabulary during the liaison report? Are they authorized to do traffic tickets, like parking tickets? Have we?
So they can only give tickets to an individual. They can't put a parking ticket on a vehicle. We still have not gotten to that.
Okay.
We have to adopt the ability for the town to issue parking tickets.
Okay.
So if they can identify, they can issue tickets to a person,
Okay.
not to a vehicle, because we don't have a parking enforcement detail. You have to go through a new process with New York State to be allowed to do that.
Okay.
We've talked about it. We just have never
I think
finalized it.
maybe I'll try to look into that for our workshop meeting because I think it would be great.
Mary Lou's done some research. Rich has done some research, and it's a matter of yes.
Just to, okay.
Great. So Recreation Department report. Spring Fling Barbecue that took place on May 20th was very well attended. Approximately 75 people took part. And thank you to all who helped make it happen, especially the Town of Rochester Highway Department, including Harry Warden and Pat Davis. On Memorial Day, the Rec Department and the Senior Youth Recreation Commission had a float in the parade. They were very happy to have a good showing of people. For the month of June, the Recreation Department and the Senior Youth Recreation Commission are busy preparing for the summer 2022 program, which begins on Monday, July 11th. The program is currently filled, but please call the Recreation Department if you'd like to put your child on a waiting list. You must be a Town of Rochester resident to attend. Thank you for the town board for continuing to support the Recreation Department and allow it to use all these fun events for the community. In addition, the Accord Speedway will have a kids go free night on July 29th, but you have to contact the Recreation Department to get free youth tickets. And again, the number is 845-626-2115. That's 626-2115. So Mike, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Liaison report for the Assessor's Office. They had a grievance day this past Thursday. Not sure how many, I believe it was 2 or 3 in person were heard. There were a number of stipulations that the assessor agreed to with various residents for changes, and the Board of Assessment Review has to review all of those. They will have one more meeting of themselves to discuss the grievances, and then they will issue a report back to us. The final assessment roll for 2022 will be has to be established by July 1st. The assessor, and I think I said this last month, did inform us though that just in changes of property valuation, of new construction, or items that were identified that had not been previously included in the tax rolls, we've added $20 million of value. Our equalization rate has been set at 72%. We were at 100, so that shows you what the value is. That is, the equalization rate is set based on the valuation of property when it's set July 1 of 2022 is the value of property at July 1 of 2021. It's always a year behind, so that is the market value. The equalization rate means that our assessed values, according to the state, are 28% under what the market value is. And that's used when different municipalities have to be joined in the same taxing district, like school taxes, like county taxes, potentially fire taxes, not in the town of Rochester, but because our entire fire district is the town of Rochester. But whenever the equalization rate is used to balance out the valuations, to that's what the term says, equalize them. The assessor continues to review those. There are several other challenges that were raised that were deemed that there was not enough information, so Board of Assessment Review is getting further information. Planning Board, I know they had the public hearing for Lucky Petroleum. They had the public hearing for Honeycomb Hills. With the board's permission, I might ask Mark, is there anything I'm forgetting about that's happened in the last couple of meetings?
Nothing that comes to mind of the conversation.
The
More applications.
yeah, and the big rush of applications that we seem to be getting for a while seems to have slowed down somewhat from earlier this year. Town board member time. Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up tonight?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, so I've brought this up before and I haven't delivered on it. So I want to acknowledge that, but I have Councilman Coleman in my corner. We would like to, the two of us would like to plan 3 public information sessions this summer, centered around the zoning changes. We'd like to do one that we could use the PowerPoint that we prepared to give that, to really just to introduce some of these ideas to the public so that when they're following along the town board discussion, they have more information at their disposal. The second one is we wanted to do one that was with farmers. We wanted to invite a bunch of farmers and RBGA and maybe even Jeff, get everyone in a room to just discuss some of the issues we've been discussing and run them by them. What was the third? Oh, the third was about the noise ordinance idea, just to get people together to talk about community-centered solutions. So I wanted to bring that up because I think it's something I wanted to do, is have more non-town board meetings that are about information, get the public engaged in the ideas sooner in the process. I wasn't sure the best way to do it. I think ideally it would be a town sanctioned event, but they wouldn't be public hearings. So we wouldn't be gathering official input, but we'd be getting questions, we'd be disseminating information.
Mary Lou, how, in terms of advertising, does that have to be advertised as obviously it's not a town board meeting, but it's a town board listening session, discussion?
Yeah, I would say that is, if the entire town board is there, that is doing town business.
Okay.
And that's what the threshold is. If you're conducting town business, you need to advertise, and it's subject to open meetings law, of course.
You want to come up with some dates?
Yeah, we started to look at some dates, but we didn't really know them.
Okay, why don't you guys do that first,
Okay.
and then we'll move forward from there.
Okay,
We can advertise it, we shouldn't call it a public hearing.
Yeah, I don't wanna
for
call it
sure.
that.
Discussion.
yeah, listening
anything like that,
session, public information session, that's the,
Okay,
I want to apologize to the board and to the public, and step out to Maddie's choir concert for a few minutes, and I'll be back in.
we'll see you back in about an hour.
Sounds good.
Understood. We're competing with the concert at the high school tonight. So, anybody else with town board member time?
Yeah, I had two quick things. So one thing I worked on was some changes to the campsite law that I initially proposed. I'm hoping that we can discuss those as part of the workshop meeting. So I'm trying to find a way of addressing some of the concerns about campers, making sure that we have the safety concerns. I actually want to also try and get down to code enforcement and have a conversation with them just to get their thoughts on it.
Yeah, talk to Will on that, because Will was the one who had the most knowledge of the rules.
Okay. Yeah, and I've gathered, and some residents in town have helped me find some information about safety concerns related to that. So I've included a lot of that in the draft. So I think I'll meet up with Will, and then we can see, discuss in the workshop meeting. The last thing was, I don't know if there's anything. So I'm excited about the website. I don't know if there's anything we can do to kind of prepare ahead of time so that we can move out quickly once we finalize contracts. So if there are people, Aaron, I don't know if you have an interest, but I'd like to at least start looking through the current website and brainstorming ideas, and maybe seeing if we want to get some other community involvement in that. And I'm just curious if people have ideas or want. I'm happy to start that process. Like I started going through the website to see what we might be able to get rid of, what we might be able to do. But I think we should get those ideas together so that we can have a coherent package and then say what we want to do.
I would say some of our departments, probably the clerk's office, I know the recreation department and the code enforcement office, they all had a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
Is that consolidated?
No, but
No,
we could,
but yeah, if you want to consolidate, but I wanted to get the vendor on board and get their ideas more about where we go, sort of, but the two can be happening simultaneously. There's no reason one has to wait for the other.
Do you know what the timeline is?
No, because I have to take all the comments that you got, the ones Mary Lou got, go back to them. He and I emailed back and forth today. We have to basically get our concerns with the contract and get them to either make changes or we have to come to an agreement on the contract. So it's, I'm hoping by the workshop we'll have something to.
Perfect. That's it.
Great. Public comment. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to make any comments? Yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm, it was covered before, I think, the auxiliary housing.
No, it's on our agenda for coming up. We haven't voted on it yet, but please.
Well, I just wanted to know where the status of it is.
Yeah, it's on the agenda to be voted on.
And that hasn't happened yet.
Has not happened yet. Anybody else? Oh, Charles.
Hi, Charles Gurko here from the First Aid Squad, I'm joined by my fellow volunteers, Bob Newell and Mark Smith. We'd like to thank the town board for its attention to the squad. There's two big challenges that the squad has moving forward that I look to the town board for help and leadership. First is addressing the nationwide volunteer shortage. All of our volunteers receive a professional level of medical training on par with paid EMTs in the area. It's tough to ask people to get that professional level of training while maintaining their full-time jobs. As a result, our squad is unable to respond to about 1 in 10 calls in the community, which go to mutual aid where neighboring squads respond to the 911 calls. Sometimes those ambulances come as far as outside of Ulster County in order to respond to calls within the town of Rochester. We are going to remain primarily a volunteer organization, so we continue to provide substantial tax savings. But for those few hours in the middle of the day when our volunteers are at work, providing for their families, we look to have hybrid staff come on so that we can get a very high response rate and ensure local community ambulance coverage for every 911 call in the town. The second issue we'd like help from the town board is some of our equipment is woefully outdated and is endangering our volunteers. Part of our proposed budget includes getting a power structure. I was on a call recently for a bariatric patient that required additional resources from the first aid squad. We had help from also Akron Fire to lift the patient. That puts a lot of wear on our volunteers. It's also dangerous. If the town could make an investment in a power stretcher, we'd be able to lift patients safely. Another piece of equipment we're looking to acquire is called the Lucas device, and that automatically performs CPR, which our squad currently does manually, which is very labor intensive, leads to exhaustion, and also can't safely be done in a moving ambulance because the EMT has to be not wearing a seatbelt to perform CPR. That device, as well as a power stretcher and other equipment we're asking for, will lead to better patient care and result in lives being saved in the town of Rochester. I'd also like to address a very timely issue, which is school shootings as well. Our volunteers do receive tactical training. So traditionally, EMS would remain outside of the school, wait for law enforcement to deliver a victim outside, and then medical care would be provided outside the school. Our squad is trained to go in with law enforcement to respond to the active scene of a school shooting. Most people die in school shootings, not because of the impact of a bullet, but because they bleed to death in the ensuing few minutes. So it's critical that our squad be able to respond quickly and save as many lives as possible. There's two things we'd like to acquire. One is a tourniquet. This is a medical device that quickly stops bleeding. This is not standard issue equipment to our volunteers. This tourniquet was purchased by Tara McCarthy, who has done over 100 911 calls this year. She buys these with her personal funds, gives it to our volunteers, as well as local troopers. This is our squad's standard issue equipment that's given to our squad leaders for bleeding control right now. Oh, stand up. Bob has a serious bleed out of his arm. The existing equipment our squad uses I would have to apply pressure dressing by hand, stabilize that dressing over the wound. And then to do pressure actually stop the bleeding. Once the pad's in place, I would then start to tighten this over the wound. And tighten that up. This is our current equipment. Tourniquet, this costs about $20 to $30 each. All I can do to stop bleeding is take it, use this Velcro strap, apply it quickly, and that cumbersome process that required stabilizing multiple devices, wrapping the wound in seconds, I can have superior bleeding control. And then I can tighten that as needed. We're asking for additional funds so our squad acquire these life-saving devices. We have a few in our ambulance. We should have those devices with all of our officers. So in the event of a mass casualty incident or an active shooter, all of our members can go to the scene and apply as many tourniquets as possible to stop people from bleeding to death. We also don't have bulletproof vests for our volunteers. So we're prepared and trained to go with law enforcement. We don't have the necessary protective equipment. That's why we're looking to the town board for help in funding, eventually form an ambulance improvement district to ensure that we're able to provide as much life-saving support as possible. The cool thing about our funding is we know that the town board is very resourceful in pursuing funding opportunities. So we believe that primarily this year, our funding could be used out of the ARPA grants that the town board is so resourceful in funding, and to ensure the viability of our squad going forward, that an ambulance improvement district is necessary. As Councilman Coleman has mentioned, the squad is forming a advisory board of community members. Typically, we recruited people to work in the ambulance. As we are partnering with the town, we are looking for more community engagement and input. And if you are interested in volunteering on our advisory board, check out our website at kafas.org. Please contact us through there, and we welcome your feedback and assistance for the squad. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, normally, but go right ahead. Normally we wouldn't,
Are
but
those things reusable or one per customer?
So these are single use only.
And so if somebody bought them for you, they just drop them off at your fire station?
We'll happily take donations if they come. Yeah, appreciate it very, very much.
okay. Did you have a comment, Tina? Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, that was really incredible. Made you want to cry. So I feel like my comic's really pale in comparison, like, because mine's all about me. I know you're working on a draft for a campground situation. I was kind of hoping that we could move a little more forward, just allowing campers, trailers, RVs. I gave a whole bunch of things to Michael and to Erin about safety. I don't know if I emailed them to you too, but RVs have to meet 200 inspections in order to be even allowed, even our own RV park. They have to have that seal on it. So they have their own building code. RVs have their own building code. And there's ways that we can move forward. I feel extremely disenfranchised personally, because if it wasn't for my RV and my opportunity to Airbnb on my little farm, I would not have survived the last 2 years. Between fighting cancer and my husband being out of work, that's how we survive. That's how we are still viable members of our community. So I need this. I need this income. This is how I feed my family. Aside from raising my chickens, this is what I do. So I'm really hoping that this gets reconsidered, and that I don't have to wait for some new zoning campgrounds. I am registered with Ulster County, and I'm sure other people like me would register with Ulster County, and that's income for the town.
maybe you could buy a whole bunch of those things. Like, I don't know, like, there's just gotta be an answer. That's mine. We need.
Mark? I just wanted to add with those, thank you, man, appreciate it very much. Being a veteran and everything, in Iraq, they saved many, many lives. They're not the old tourniquets that would, unfortunately, when you look at war, you gotta look for the good things that come out of war. And one thing is, I learned that the tourniquets aren't the bad things that might be when we were younger. They took them out of EMS, they took them out of medical use, because it was that if you put it on, you lose whatever was below it, because you cut off the blood. Not so. We actually had a soldier that had him on for 36 hours and he never lost any of his life, but it saved his life. So that's come back now. We now are able to use them. They're in the national program. They're a godsend. If you see us in uniform for the constabulary, you'll see that a bunch of us have our tourniquets with us just for that, for helping God forbid if we have to stop any wounds. Man, thank you very much for your offer. But that's something that is a very big lifesaver, and it's such a simple. The best part about it is you can use it on yourself if you have, because it's a one-hand operation. And so it's really good. Thank the board very much.
Thank you. Thank you for all you guys do. Anybody else tonight? Yes, sir.
Can I just ask a question? My name's Hoppy Quick. I'm a local artist. And my first time really coming to the town board. So I'm just curious to know about the short-term rental. Is the town of Rochester doesn't allow that, or I have an interest on possibly having classes because I do spoon carving and I do bowls. I do a lot of things working with your hands. And I didn't know I have TP, and I was wondering if I could have weekend workshops, but I'm new to this, so I'm here. And Tina, you know, I know that we live in an area now that's in the last few years that's taken off and taxes are going to go up. So trying to create a little income off my property to help me pay the taxes and to keep the property. I'm just curious. My first time here, I don't know what the town has actually got with the short-term rental.
Normally it's not a question and answer, but the board or
Where
whatever.
would you go to answer?
No, I'm gonna ask the board if it's okay if I answer you.
I think that
Okay, so we have a short-term rental law, which is addressed that units have to be dwelling units, which means it has to be a structure that is permitted by building code. So you are allowed to have one on-premise short-term rental and one owner occupied and one non-owner occupied. So if you own two pieces of property, you have to apply for a permit to the town of Rochester. With it comes a health and safety inspection to make sure that you pass the level of inspections to have people outside your family coming in to stay, because although you are, it's somewhat considered a home occupation business, you are still bringing the public into your property, and you have to meet health and safety code that for your own family, you wouldn't have to meet. And now, obviously that's your choice, whether you meet it for your own family or not, but they inspect for things like fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, that type of thing, proper egress and ingress. You also must register with Ulster County as under the, I apologize, the name of my, yeah, under the hotel and motel, the bed tax, excuse me, the bed tax word went out of my head. And you must show proof that you are registered with Ulster County. If you are through Airbnb, they have an agreement with Ulster County. I don't know exactly how it works, but they have an agreement where they collect the tax and remit it to Ulster County on your behalf. The third thing you must do is basically complete the application, which is with it, there's a set of you must display how, you must have a set of house rules. You must have somebody who is responsible for the property and for the short-term rental who can respond within a certain amount of time. There's a number of things within the code. So currently, we do not allow short-term rentals in building, non-dwelling unit domiciles. That was at both the recommendation of the county planning department and along with the recommendations of several other short-term rental agencies. So some people are asking for us to reconsider that, but sort of the short answer is now, if you are running a short-term rental, and the short-term rental is defined as people staying on your property for less than 30 days. If you're renting out on a long-term basis, this does not apply.
And you could use it then for a trailer.
Not currently, because it must be a dwelling unit under the current law. Yeah, it must be a dwelling unit.
All right, thank you.
Um,
Can I add to, just in terms of general Q&A? I know you can email me, you can email other board members, our town emails on the website.
And phone
Tina can
numbers
give you
too.
my number to call me. And we can help.
Actually coming to be more aware what's happening now, because I usually don't come to meetings,
And I park them.
but yeah, so, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me just get Chris first, David, and then we'll come back to you.
I'll continue with what we were talking about. And the county is doing the best news as well. And I'm recommending the town of Rockford over the 30 years to work on for 3 years. And we listen, the justice, and for modern code in the region. So I'm very supportive of short-term rentals because like you said, they pay new bill and actually afford to live here. And it's different than people who are just trying to extract from our economy, buy real estate, create Airbnbs, and not really live here. So I like how our code actually distinguishes between people who don't live here and people who are living here and helping have additional income to their families. And right now, the county is considering increasing that tax for hotels and motels and Airbnb. And there are people talking about making the Airbnb tax higher than hotel taxes. I believe we should encourage Airbnb to be taxed and also have the additional what's the added unit called? We have
Accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling is a great idea for our families to be able to work with here as well. But the comment that I want to make is to encourage the National Heritage Plan to continue moving forward. You know, we're making a lot of progress in the CRC and passing new laws to be very modern in our thinking of how to handle our land and our zoning. So I want to encourage the National Heritage Plan to include the critical environmental areas and continue the progress that so many people have made for so many years on that important plan. I think that those 3 words, critical, environmental, and area, I would be honored to be in one of those regions because it shows that that's a precious region or a precious area of our town. So I thought about the comparison of having a child. When you have a child, you steward that child in your home and you help get your values. You live with a child, you share your values, you share your generosity, and then the child moves on. It's similar to having land. We have to respect the land, live with the land, and the land teaches us as well. So there are rules of how to live with a child and how to treat a child, but also be rules on how to treat our land. Yes, land is owned by us, and we should be able to do what we want on our land to a certain limit. The critical environmental areas are important. We should do that. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, just Jerry?
Mike, just speaking from, in my capacity as emergency management director for the town, Councilwoman Allen brought up a point that I'd like to, in fact, confer further with her in regards to our capacity to issue summonses in the case of illegal parking and some other issues. This issue came up when I took part because there was no other help available with Rich Miller, our chief constable, during the weekend, monster truck, I think is what it was, over at the Speedway. And because I happened to travel through Woodfield Road to head home, I noticed that Rich was overwhelmed with the amount of traffic and so forth that occurred. So I stopped and put on my vest, I believe it was, and helped Rich with just security there insofar as the dangers of the cars pulling to the side, people just leaving their vehicles. I asked him about that because we would tell people, can't park here, it's not safe to park on the road, which you're now blocking the oncoming traffic, vice versa. And he said exactly as you guys just explained. And I really believe this is something that we have to get rectified, because we're gonna have at some point some horrific accidents. And I hate to think that we've run out of them. By the way, I can testify that those tourniquets work because overseas we use them, and I know of many people who were victims that were not in shooting, but they were in other horrific events in which those tourniquets saved their lives. But we also need the ability, we're gonna have a constable service that you don't have to have a body. If you have a vehicle that's registered to someone, you should be able to ticket that vehicle with a lawful summons, because maybe that will get them, because I can tell you, when we told more than one person not to park in a place, we turned around and they did it anyway. And that needs to be addressed. So I would love to, if you'd like any more of my input, I am 100% behind that from a safety standpoint. This is something that's going to turn into a catastrophe, and the town is going to end up getting sued over one of these occurrences. So we want to bring in these people, but we have to do it in a safe manner. And people don't want to listen to law enforcement, well, it's going to turn into a real problem. So, thank you.
If I can just say one more thing about that to clarify, if somebody is parked impeding traffic and they're parked on the road under the vehicle and under our highway code, the highway superintendent can have somebody towed. So if somebody is parked on a roadway where they're impeding traffic, they can absolutely be towed, and the highway superintendent can have a tow truck come tow them. So we do have that in our, what we don't have the ability right now is if somebody parks and they manage to get off the road, but they're still parked in an area that they shouldn't be parked in. And that's really where the issue is now. So we do have some capability right now, but I agree, we need to look into taking it to the next step to be able to issue parking violations to a vehicle. If we're going to start towing, it's a whole nother situation, because then you have to set up a contract with a vendor where vehicles will be towed to. They have to be secure. It's got to be there's a lot of responsibility on the town if we tow somebody's vehicle. So we have to work through those details as well. Anybody else? Yes.
Well, there's movement within New York State to move the fire departments out of residential areas for health and safety reasons. And I think the town board should address this, because there is an accident waiting to happen. It's happened before, where people rushing to the fire department, they answer a call in a residential area, children are involved, and go to vehicles as well. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that Woodstock has done it, Blue Falls, Stone Ridge, our neighbor, has moved all their fire department out of the residential area. And I think for the health and safety of the community, we should do that.
Anyone else? Yes.
So I was listening to what Chris said and what Hoppy said, and it sort of sings, I'm gonna bite off a little bit of that. Nancy and Corey, these are all people that are artists, all people that had Airstreams or RVs. These are all people, these are the type of people that bring New York City people here. People want what Hoppy has to offer. They want his wood carvings. He's famous. Like, they want his bowl turning and his spoons and his pumpkins and his pears. They want Nancy. Nancy's famous. They want her art. They come and they stay, and it's not, they come to our area because you have craftsmen like them. They come to our area because we are a small town, because they can come to my place and learn how to handle a horse, or go to Corey's place and learn how to handle a horse. They can come to my place and learn how to color chicken. Where else do they learn to do that? So they could go to his place and learn wood crafting. This is what brings people to our town. It's not this country and barn business that has bought 6 houses in our town, and they're all on Airbnb. And none of them, you're not gonna tell me they live in all those, because it's a business that bought them. I mean, we're talking about keeping the integrity of our town, the reason people come here. Well, let's not erase that. Let's give people that come up here, somebody like him, somebody like Corey, and somebody like Nancy, somebody like me, give them those opportunities to experience.
Can I say one more thing? I think it's a very small voice, this part of the community, and it used to be big. And it makes me a little sad because my family's lived here since the 1600s. And I've been rooted here, and I have to think about trying to hang on the front. And I got to try to be creative with thinking about how to do that. And as I get older, I turn 60, it gets a little hard. But I got to keep going. And then, you know, I'm speculating that taxes are going to go higher. It's going to be harder for me to hang on the property. The only thing I got are my skills that I can share. And I know that this short-term rental thing is bigger than me or Nancy or Tina. But, and I believe this is all the gentrification of the Catskills, and it's really hard to stop. But we have to have, even if it's a small voice, we got to have a voice. Because we're here. It's like the Who's, you know, yelling in the airport, you know, it's like, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. So we're here. There's just a couple of us here now, but we are here and we are in town. We're trying to thrive, trying to survive, and we're trying to do it with what we got. And that's it. So I want to just say to the town, I know it's easier to think of the majority, which is this mass migration of people that came from New York, that moved into our area, that are just settling here, and it's just part of what's happening. But I don't want to be part of the migration move. I have to up my roots, which are deep, and to go somewhere else because I can't afford to live here, and because nobody listened. Nobody cared about the community. And the thing about community is the people coming from New York that have their Airbnbs, that have their second homes, they are not the fire department. They are not the guys who work at the school. They are not, or the women. They're not the people on the ambulance squad. That is your community, and you have to protect that. So I'm asking the town board, look at that big picture, but also don't lose sight of the little picture, which is the people that are part of the community, because these people come and go. We shouldn't put a wall up. We shouldn't put a wall up with anybody coming from New York, because they're coming here because, which I would do. We have to extend a hand and try to teach them about rural life. This is not the suburbs of New York. This is rural living. There are still rural people here. And just remember us.
I'd just like to thank those who commented on the spot. It's our pleasure to serve the community. We look forward to working with our citizens to do that. I also wanted to echo the thanks extended to the Ackwood Fire District for the Memorial Day Parade. in particular, the 11-year-old trumpet player, did an outstanding job. I'm a former trumpet player myself. I know it's very difficult work. And if you contact us at kfest.org, we'd love to have you perform for the squad. Come by Ridgeview Road, and you can practice anytime.
Thank you.
Love that.
Okay, I think on that, there's no more comment. We will move to resolutions. The first, I'm gonna make an amendment. We're gonna remove the May 25th, 2022 special meeting. I'm sorry, public hearings from the resolution. So the resolution will read, the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes of the May 5th, 2022 regular meeting, the May 18th, 2022 workshop meeting, May 25th, 2022 audit meeting, and May 25th, 2022 special meeting. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? And I want to thank Kate and her deputy Christina Ferrara for getting all those minutes together. And there was a lot of comment in the public hearings, which is why it's still taking time. But thank you for what they got together for us. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next, and I'll ask Kate to fill in the resolution number when she gets it. Well, you probably already have it, but this is a resolution amending the approval of abstract 5 of 2022. Town of Rochester Town Board authorizes amendment of resolution, and Kate will fill in the number of 2022, approving payment of abstract 5 of 2022 with the following corrections. Highway fund is $323,475.82, replacing the approved payment of $323,376.82.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, acceptance of donation of goods. The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donations for Veterans Park of mulch from Brian Bell and plants from Saundersville Farms. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I want to, as I mentioned before, Amelia Trimpe did the work. She's secured the mulch from Brian Bell from Bell's Christmas Trees, and Saundersville Farms provided the plants. And they're all pollinators to the plants that she's planting. So it will, as the flowers bloom, we will be attracting bees and butterflies. And so thank you, everybody. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Acceptance of donations. The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donation of $250 from the Rondout Valley Federation of Teachers for the summertime program 2022.
Make that motion.
For a second.
I'll second.
This money helps to fund the t-shirts that they use, and it's very helpful when they go on trips because they have different colors for different groups, and they're able to keep track of everybody very well because of that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Next, there'll be an addition to this resolution. The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donations of $50 from the Cohasset Accord Jewish Senior Citizens. We'll be adding $350 from the Rochester Senior Group, $50 from Alice Gray, and $61 in cash donations from various donors for the spring cleaning party. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Town of Olive Highway Shared Services Agreement. The Town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to sign the shared services agreement between the Town of Rochester Highway Department and the Town of Olive.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. That's, we now have Marbletown and Olive, and Rosendale and Gardner will be coming as they expire.
They're this year as well.
One is this year, one is, I think, early next year. So, fast concert.
3 songs announced.
Local A, 2022 moratorium. Does the board want me to read the resolution or we want to do it as presented? It is in the record for the public to see since it's written in the agenda. So I'll just read the therefore, if the board is okay with that. So therefore, the town of Rochester adopts local law A of 2022, a moratorium on actions subject to building permit, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review. And with this resolution, rename such as local law 3 of 2022, and further request the town clerk file such local law with the Department of State.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions, discussion for the board? We will be making up a sort of a question and answer, yes, no chart to assist the building department in the process of what this all means. We will make sure the town clerks get copies, the planning and zoning office, obviously. And Kate, if you could let us know as soon as New York State recognizes it, because it takes effect that day, the day they recognize it.
And then the 6-month clock.
6-month clock starts the day it's accepted as filed by New York State. They don't review it, we just send it to them. They send back that it's been filed with the Department of State.
How long is that?
Anywhere from a week to 3 weeks, but we can go online and
Well,
see.
I was going to say, I'll be checking it every day because I know that there may be some, if you pass this, there may be some applications that are coming up for planning board, but they have not yet been on an agenda. So I'm going to be looking every day so I can tell them when they have to drop things.
Okay.
They usually do it the day that they get it, but the notification to us sometimes takes a while.
Okay, I'll get the finalized version with the seeker and the EN. We need to file. Oh no, this was a type 2 action, so this doesn't need an EN. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, local law B, the accessory dwelling units. I'm going to propose an amendment for a whereas that I should have included. I feel like I should have included that I didn't. So after the second whereas, which talks about the seeker, I want to insert another whereas. That'll say, whereas Town of Rochester Town Board reviewed seeker parts 2 and 3 on May 25th, 2022, and adopted a negative declaration. So first we'll vote on that amendment. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so on the amendment, not on the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay, I just wanted to include that in there, so it's in the resolution. Next then, on the resolution itself, town board amends chapter 140 zoning to add a new section 140.13.1 accessory dwelling units. And with this resolution, rename such as local law 4 of 2022, and further request the town clerk file such local law with the Department of State. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Kate, this one will need the EMD because this was a type 1. And I have that all ready to go. I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. David, we just adopted the accessory dwelling unit.
Oh. Yeah.
You pass.
Next resolution, authorizing a vendor increase in payment. I supplied to you in the paperwork today the request. Town of Rochester Town Board authorized the town supervisor to increase payment for line dancing classes to $45 per session from $30 per session, effective June 5th, 2022. The vendor name will also be changed from Goldie Goldberg to 1,000 dances. That
I'll make
is-
that motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
That is the DBA name that she used with other places, and it helps her to do it that way. So, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Next, authorizing a vendor increase in payment. The Town of Rochester Town Board authorized the town supervisor to increase payment for exercise classes to $45 per session from $30 per session, effective June 5th, 2022 to Rita Harkins.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
we did it for one, we're doing it for both. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. The next resolution, on the request of a board member, we're going to table that because there was a question that came up, and we will put this on the workshop meeting agenda. So we'll get the answer to the question that came up, and so we'll table resolution L. Next, authorizing the use of town highways. Town of Rochester Town Board authorized the town supervisor to sign the proposed agreement authorizing the use of certain town roadways for the charity bike ride event, the Ride for Mental Health, to be held June 19th, 2021 and June 20th, 2021. On presentation of a certificate of liability insurance certificate, naming the town of Rochester as an additional insured party. Got that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
They actually, the only road that is a town road that they're using is a little bit of berm road. They come down Kaiserreich and County Route 6, and then just past Allergerville, turn left and go on Berm Road. So that is the only town road that actually is utilized for this event.
It should be changed to 2022.
Yes, it should be. Thank you. I changed the dates, but I didn't change the year. We'll make that amendment. They already have supplied us with a certificate. This is the third year they've done this event, and we have had no issues ever.
Mike, is it the 19th and 20th? Because that's a Sunday, Monday.
Then it must be 18th and 19th, and it's Saturday, Sunday. Okay, I did copy last year's dates.
Takes 10 days of time.
We'll start over.
Let's do that.
Be held June 18th, 2022 and June 19th, 2022. Upon presentation of a certificate of liability insurance, certificate naming the town of Rochester as an additional insured party.
Are we voting on that amendment or starting over?
We'll just start over with that as the resolution. I don't think we need to do an amendment for that. That's just a correction.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Next, we received 2 refund requests, and one came in just today, and the other one I did not get you guys the paperwork for, but here are copies of it. You. This is a request from the planning board that for an escrow refund, the applicant Jacob Fetter, who is withdrawing their application. There was a meeting that occurred with the Clark Patterson Lee and Mary Lou, which we have not yet received the billing for. So I'm going to ask for a resolution or a motion that we allow the supervisor to refund the amount of escrow after submittal of the vouchers for after deduction for the amount of the vouchers for Clark Patterson Lee and Mary Lou. So we will be getting those this month, but I'm asking you for this resolution now. So we'll subtract the balance of what we do and then refund them the remaining balance. So I ask for that motion.
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, questions? So this person was considering doing an application. They had not actually applied, but because they met and utilized our consultants, they supplied the escrow with the intention of having an application. After the meeting, they decided they're not going to pursue it. And, but they will still be responsible for those costs. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, this next one is a request for a municipal search. That was never done. We have the email from the building department requesting. I just noticed though, there's no amount in here. You know.
125.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Kind of hidden.
Yeah, I see it. Never mind. So I'd ask for a motion to refund $125 to Brenda Letterer on request of the building department for a municipal search that was not conducted.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Try to get everything in there on the agenda, and I missed that one until I was going through my notes. Next, moving into discussion items.
Are we not doing the seeker?
Yes, we can do that seeker first. Sure. I was going to do it when we discuss the local law.
Oh, okay.
We can do it now and get it done, and then we'll go into discussion items. So the seeker for, I've included the whole packet. You have the local law C, the part 1, which was already filed. We have to do the part 2 and part 3. In the effort of saving time, I would just ask for a motion to agree that the 11 items check no or small impact, rather than reading each one like we normally do. Board is okay with that. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Kate, we do a roll call vote?
Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Allen.
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Councilman Disaster. Supervisor Davis.
Aye. Next, I'd ask for a motion that based on the information and analysis and supporting documentation, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, that's also roll call vote.
Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Allen.
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Councilman Disaster. Supervisor Davis.
Aye. Okay, so we have a negative declaration. Do you want to go out of order and consider the local law now, and then we'll pick up with the ambulance district, or you want to talk about the ambulance district first? Since we're on the local law.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, okay. We heard there was no public comment. This is the local law that we've been considering since last April. We've worked through it. We've made a few changes. I'm ready to make a motion to adopt. It will be local law C of 2022 to be renamed local law 5 of 2022. And removing chapter 118 solid waste of the code of the town of Rochester and replacing with chapter 118 solid waste and littering. And requesting the town clerk, get the language here, file such local law with the Department of State.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Great. And that one doesn't need an END because it's unlisted action. Okay, ambulance district. I've worked with the assessor and he has taken the map area that Councilman Coleman made based on the coverage maps that we got from Ulster County Emergency Management. We identified there were 19 parcels that are divided parcels, some in Marbletown's First Aid District, some in Cohasset Accord, a portion of it. We got a determination through the Association of Towns of a ruling. Mary Lou, what was the source of that ruling? Was it the comptroller? Do you remember? Not that it totally matters, but anyway, the definitive answer was the local assessor establishes the percentage of the value that gets assigned to each district. So say, for example, the property is worth 200,000. If it's 25% one, 75% the other, then 50,000 would be to one district, 150 would be to the other district. He looked at where the structures were, all that. He proportioned those 19 properties. He also had the Ulster County Real Property Department verify there are a number of parcels which are tax exempt and do not pay. They don't have a taxable assessed value. And so he created the districts for, out of that district, he came up to a total evaluation of the properties in that district. He also came up with the average price of the average valuation of a residential property. And I think those were the two pieces we needed, right, Mary Lou?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So that information, which I can share with all the board members if they like, it's a big, long, detailed Excel spreadsheet. But the total for Marbletown First Aid Unit District is $71,327,420. The average residential property is valued at $320,000 in that district. It is made up of 273 whole parcels and 19 partial parcels. And I have that information listed, and we would, if we were to approve this district, we would supply that to Ulster County Real Property, and then they would do the taxing for next year based on that. For Cohasset Accord First Aid Squad, the total value is $871,346,045. The average residential parcel in that district is $228,000. There are 4,517 parcels in the town of Rochester that they cover. There are 20 partial parcels, the 19 that they share with Marbletown, and there's one that they share with Warsing. However, it's state land, which is not valued. There's no valuation on that. So we have those two amounts. So the next step is for the workshop meeting, I will work with Mary Lou and with Michael to create a report, which will take that valuation and based on the requests of funding for next year, we will come up with an estimate per thousand of what it will cost the voters. And then Mary Lou, just help me out. Once we do that, what are the next steps? Once we do that and we make that report.
Hey. Well, I don't have it in front of me because you told me you were just gonna give us an update of where we were. I think after that is when we schedule the next public hearing.
Okay. So we have a public hearing and then we can adopt the district subject to permissive referendum is what I remember.
Right, or depending on what you get at the, what information you get at the public hearing, you may change things, maybe you won't adopt it, maybe you will, maybe you'll change, maybe you'll continue the public hearing. But when you finally get to the point where you close it, then you can, yeah, vote. And if you vote yes, it's subject to permissive referendum.
Okay. So that's where we stand. I'm gonna shoot to have this information, the report for the board for our workshop meeting. I'm hoping then to have the public hearing at our July regular meeting. And we'll go from there. And we'll make sure that we advertise. Do we have to, well, we can talk offline, but I can't remember if we have to send out notification or if we have to list every SBL in the notice, or how that works in the notice of the district.
You know, I don't know that we even got that far, so that
don't think we did
we'll
either.
look into that.
But we do have the list of all the current property owners and the valuation now for that area. So that's where that all stands. Any questions from the board? Okay,
I
thank
would
you.
like to see that. big Excel
I'll
spreadsheet.
share that Excel sheet. I just finalized it this morning with Jeremy on the percentage properties, and it's now in Excel. And obviously the Marbletown one is not as big as the
Well, it's gonna be
how
almost 5,000,
many rows?
more than the parcels.
No, it's about 5 more or 6 more rows than the number. So, but that's where we stand. So the next item on the agenda, zoning code revisions. We talked last month, last month, about the proposed ones that we have considered. What I wanted to find out from the board is what you want to do in terms of, you want to talk as a group on the changes. We kind of talked through some of them, and we did make a few changes. Obviously, the definitions one and the schedule of use is quite a lengthy discussion. Do you want to talk more tonight? Do you want to schedule I'd like to try to bring you another set at the next workshop meeting, which is why I'm kind of pushing this a little bit hard, because I want to keep going on this. We could schedule a special meeting to go over everything, because we're going to end up with quite a few public hearings to hold. And every one of these has to be referred to the town planning board, county planning board. Kate has to circulate notice to neighboring communities. It's quite lengthy what we need to do.
On that subject, I understand the way you're breaking them up. It makes sense for us. It's digestible. Everything is on the same thing. But I was just, since the last meeting, I was wondering if there's a way, after we do like a grouping, if maybe we could lump some of them together.
The problem with that is, as soon as we lump them together, we've now created a different local law which needs its own referral. That's why I didn't do it that way. I kept them separate because I figured it's going to be easier for the public to digest, easier for the public to comment, rather than commenting on one, 200-page law. They're going to comment on a bunch of 5- and 6-page laws. But there's no way that I can think of to lump them together, because as soon as you lump them together, it becomes another version of the law, and it would be a significant change. So we could adopt them all at the same time. We
Right.
don't have to adopt them as we go.
I guess that I was thinking about the referral process and
Yeah.
how if that we would also have to do the 42 speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess I was just.
We
wondering
can
if there's a-
choose to lump them together as we go if we want. I was just thinking from the public comment period. Obviously, you know, the schedule of use, a number of people will probably have comments on
Right.
that. Whereas, you know, less people will have comments on the prohibited. The animal husbandry, I will tell you, Tom Shepstone said it best when we first talked about it. It will become the one that has the most comments, and he has been dead on right every time. So,
Absolutely.
it's surprising, but it's the one that always gets the most comments. So there's no easy way to do it unless we do it all as if we group a bunch of them together as one, we can certainly do that
Yeah.
right now, and that's why they're just local law X right now.
Right.
It's for our discussion purposes. Once we decide to put it in local law format
Right.
for presentation, we can join as many as we want together at one time. Just bear in mind that that may extend the public hearing process. It may extend comments.
Right.
So,
It's more difficult. Yeah, I see a case for both.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not opposed to joining them as we go, but you know, we've got what here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm hoping to get at least
Right.
another 6.
And however if we set the public hearing, that's how we have to refer
Yes. Yes, because the public hearing is for local law, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think we could group them ahead of time and then we can consider them individually as a board, but then
Well,
combine
what
them?
Mike's saying is with the public hearing, if we group them together, that makes it easier for us. But for the public, that makes it harder for the public to comment on a really specific topic.
Right now it's grouped,
In the-
right now I'm grouping by chapter.
The-
If we decide these 4 chapters work together or
Yeah.
can work together, put
Maybe
them
we should
together.
just do it like that.
Yeah, so as we review them ourselves, like, I would want the schedule to be its own.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably the lot development standards, we probably want that to be its own.
But agricultural use and animal husbandry.
It could be, absolutely. But we can decide that ourselves before we.
Yeah,
move it to
okay,
public hearing.
I like that. I think
That's kinda what I was
that's
saying.
what I was sort of thinking anyway. So not to make them all one, but like maybe just shorten it a little bit.
And there will be the ones that are sort of ancillary changes of a couple words here and a couple words there. I'm gonna write that all as one local law,
Yeah,
because that's just a kind of a cleanup thing.
right. There was
It's
some
corrections.
typos.
There were some typos, there were some corrections of.
Hopefully
of
no one
wording.
objects.
Yeah. I left that till later because I wanted to get, and I literally just took it in order. I did skip over a couple things that were some of those ancillary things for the moment.
Okay,
But I'm hoping to walk back in 2.5 weeks from now with 5 or 6 more
Right.
ready to go. So that's why I didn't want to necessarily put this off too long. If there's any you think are ready to go.
so for the ones with the ag, I would like to talk to Jeff
Yep,
first.
absolutely.
And then come back to the board with
Yep.
comments.
Well, so we had changes to stuff like animal husbandry.
We did, and I have the notes on mine of what we made changes on. I just made them as we went.
I do too.
Can we circulate like a common?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna, continually update. I was just keeping a master, was gonna update it all at the local law process, but if you want me to do that, I can try to. I sort of figured you guys would be making your own notes.
Can we get them in Microsoft Word? And then in the future, not now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Did I send them in Word or PDF?
I have-
I thought I sent them in both.
I have everything I have.
Okay, I'll send them in Word then. I usually try to send them in both. I mean, I can make these changes were not huge. I can make these changes and get them out to you.
Yeah, I didn't think there were a lot.
No, the prohibited use is the one that we didn't really finalize. We talked about was the vehicle dismantling that was
Yeah.
recommended by the ZRC, and, it is a regulated industry already, so I don't know why we prohibiting, that's just my opinion. I don't know that we probably, but the other additions, I have no issues with, and then that would finish that one.
Yes.
It's fairly minor. So I guess why don't we just hold these thoughts for now? I will make the changes that we made and circulate the new ones in Word. And I will get another set for you guys next week.
And do we need to do that? Are you just asking if we want to schedule a public hearing on it?
Well, we can't schedule a public hearing until it's ready to go into like a local law.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. What do we need to do to get?
We need, as a board, need to decide what the final version of the law for public hearing is.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we need to do.
So
We need
we
to
need to
finish our
say-
conversation.
Right.
We
So we
made
need
some
to-
changes, but I don't know that we're at the end of changes yet.
Okay.
There were some things we said, yeah, let's talk about it some more. Let's look into it, like the animals. Aaron wanted to talk to Eco.
Yeah.
So that's not ready for public hearing.
But like we're saying that the prohibited uses, if we can put them written on the,
We can get that one to public hearing.
so.
You know, the definitions, there's a lot to comprehend, and the local development standards, there's a lot to comprehend. So we didn't talk about those at all. We sort of said, look at it
Yeah.
offline, come back with any questions, changes, thoughts. So that's kind of where I'm at now is what are your thoughts?
So do you want to just initiate the prohibited uses for public hearing? Does it make sense to see the edits, the final version, look at it one more time and then just do it all at once?
Well, the prohibited uses.
We hadn't decided,
We didn't.
we didn't
yeah,
finish the
I just-
discussion about the sign. Yeah. We didn't
Well, that's
finish.
what I'm saying. Do we want to finish the discussion right now?
Oh,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If that was the only thing you think was an issue.
That was the only one I had.
Because-
For
I don't
this
know if
one.
anybody, I don't
Right,
want to speak for anybody else. I would like to remove section F.
I'm fine with that because I agree. There's going to be separate regulations that govern. that. I go from fly by night.
Okay.
That's correct, right? There's EDC regulations and other regulations. You can't just start dismantling.
No, there's state regulations, there's federal regulations, there's DEC regulations, all the above. So the other prohibitions, the solid waste landfills, hazardous waste, I would agree. And then the same with the radioactive materials. I'm fine with eliminating those. They probably at one time were there in the old code. There was a whole list of prohibited uses, and we more or less addressed it with the schedule of uses. But then when the prohibited uses were a carryover from when the fracking law was written, and those were prohibited as part of that section, and we just combined it all in 2008, excuse me, to the title prohibited uses.
So I'm good dropping it.
Okay.
And one open.
If that's the case, do we want to, I can prepare the part one of the seeker. Does the board want to do this at the workshop meeting, or do we want to do it at the July?
The public hearing? I'm fine with workshop.
Okay,
I might not be here for work.
so this would be,
When is that?
we wouldn't, no, I'm sorry, it wouldn't be the workshop, audit meeting.
Oh,
We have to do it at after the audit meeting, because, yeah, which is the 30th instead of the 7th.
okay. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so this would be local law. Let's see what we're up to. I'm gonna letter it, just so we stay and then convert to a number later. I think we had a D. Let me just see. Oh, no, you're right. C was solid waste. Yeah, we had a D, but the videotaping, but we never did it. So this would be local law D. So somebody want to make a motion to schedule local law D of 2022, amending chapter 140 8.1 prohibited uses. And scheduling the public hearing to be held at, do we want to do 7 PM or do we want to say, we want to give ourselves a little more time and say 7:15? 7:30?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Then race them to get.
Yeah, okay, be held at 7:30 PM. Thursday, June 30th at the Herald Community Center, and requesting the town clerk to circulate notice.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? You got all that, Kate? You're good, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Then I'd ask for a motion to refer this local law to the Town of Rochester Planning Board and the Ulster County Planning Board for comment.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. And then finally, a motion to classify this as a type 1 action under seeker. You can stop right there.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
That's a roll call vote.
Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Allen.
Aye.
Councilman Patton.
Aye.
Councilman Stevens is absent, and Supervisor Bates.
Aye. Okay. Our first of many. Next, if you look at this packet that's in your folders, we had a request for an amendment to the an EEO district that was created with resolution that was 314 of 2018. It's at 2919 and 2921 Lucas Turnpike. What's in your packet is, this is the request for the application for the zoning permit.
Yo, law.
Then I gave you a copy of the EEO law as it exists. And I'll call attention to the one that there's a section of it that talks about
Yeah.
modifications, which is section F. Yep, any further proposed change in use of a property that does not comply with the underlying zoning shall be required to go back before the town board for review pursuant to the provisions of this section. So, and then 3 and 4 would also pertain. Any changes other than use changes shall be considered as a request for site plan amendment, be referred to the planning board for amended site plan review. And number 4, modifications within an approved EO require application and approval by the town. Now, I did just notice that it says see map and description, but I'm not.
Right, we don't
sure-
have that, right?
I'm not sure we got that from the code enforcement.
We didn't get a map.
Yeah, she did send me, so what is requested is to add the use on the property.
Yeah, you know, Mike, on this, when I looked at it, so this was their application for the zoning permit. Do we have a separate application for an EEO?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
Because we don't have that. We've only been notified
Right,
by the building department. We don't have an
Understood.
application from the
Yes.
property owner yet, which would have
Right.
to have a lot more information than this. We know
Right.
they want the sawmill and the kiln, but we don't know where. We don't know
Right.
anything.
no, understood. I just was bringing it to the board to see first if they even want to consider it or not. And I know we need more information, obviously.
So can I
Yeah,
ask
we
a
need an
question?
application before we can consider it.
Okay,
Mary Lou, can I just ask a clarifying legal question?
Of course.
So when
of
it
course.
says, back before the town board for review pursuant to the provisions of this section, does that mean we're basically considering it like as a new EEO application? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think they can put in an application which says they want to modify their previous
But
approval.
it's the same, it's not, it's the same,
Same.
it has to be a past as a zoning change, basically.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
Yeah.
we're kind of doing the same thing again, but just on an amendment. But yeah, we need the maps, we need all the information as to how it's gonna change.
Mike, the other thing on the application, it says permanent sawmill.
Right.
What they gave us here is a
Yes.
picture of a
portable, I saw that.
Yeah.
too.
Understood. So,
Which,
yeah, I'm just, so I did
Portable.
include a copy of the overlay district approval that was granted. And so you see what the conditions were that were included in that.
Yeah, I would suggest that you get in touch with Mr. Banner
Yeah,
and
Yep.
tell him to, fill out the proper paperwork and get us the
Right.
proper information and
Yep.
plan.
yeah, understood.
If he still wants to do it, maybe he doesn't want to do it if he has to do this
Right.
again.
Yeah.
One thing I would say on the sawmill permanence versus portable is in our code definition of, there's like temporary is 90 days or less.
Right.
So if they're planning on having it for more than 90 days.
Right, and that's why they need this. If they were
Even if it's
doing it
portable.
temporary, they would not have to come for this because it is allowed in that zoning district.
just the fact that it's parked there.
Right.
Regardless of whether
So
it's
Yeah.
or not.
what he's asking to do is to create a permanent sawmill on the EEO
Right.
properties. So yes, obviously, we'll go back to him, tell him we need more information. It's again, it's our, well, I guess it's our fourth official bite at the apple with EEOs, but it's a change to the first one we adopted. So
Right.
we'll go back to them. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. It just came to me last week to see if the board even wants to, like Mario said, we don't really have an application yet. We have a referral from the zoning coordinator. So I'll ask him to create the application. We do have an application. I'll ask him to fill that out to get us the information, and we'll go from there.
it does say see attached map, but there's no map provided.
Not that we
No,
have.
this was what was emailed to me, so maybe a map was turned into code enforcement that did not make its way to us, so. What you're seeing, the three pieces that came from the applicant are exactly what was emailed to me, and then I printed out the approval from 2018, and I printed out the overlay district code, so you could see the section of why we need to approve this. And depending on if they're making a change to their site plan, which they're adding a new use, likely they would be making a change to their site plan. It would also then go to the planning board for site plan.
Well, yeah, the solar killing, that's what it's saying.
Yeah. So that's where that stands. So I will follow up with them. Just wanted to get it on your radar so you knew about the ask. Did want to take one quick second while we're on EEOs. I did put in your packet comments we received from the town planning board on Walnut Brook I submitted to them the new presentation that was given to us. I submitted it to all the involved agencies under seeker. The town planning board reviewed and sent back these comments. It is currently being reviewed by Clark Patterson Lee on our behalf. I've asked that she get that back to us by the 13th of June. So then at the workshop meeting, we can discuss these comments and the planner's comments, and then go from there as to what further information we need from the applicant to at least possibly consider seeker, and then move it forward to getting it eventually scheduled for another public hearing and another referral to the county planning board and another referral to our town planning board, all those other good things. So I'm just getting you the pieces as they come in to me, so you have them in your hand. Mary Lou, do you have any more information on the video meeting participation?
Actually, yep, I'm gonna send something out to you guys. The Association of Towns actually came out with like a little fact sheet, which is very helpful, and also a very, very brief local law sample, which I really like. And in it refers to a town's video conferencing policy adopted by the town board. So what we'll need is I can get this law to you guys with the fact sheet, and you guys have to decide what would constitute extraordinary circumstances, come up with a policy, pass that part by resolution. The good thing about that is if other things should come up in the future, you can always amend it by resolution without having to go through a whole new law process.
Okay.
All right,
that's
so I
very
will
good.
send that. I'll send that to you. It's great. And I don't know, Mike, if at the supervisors meeting, this has been brought up for any discussion as to,
It hasn't,
what-
but if you send that to me, I'll bring it up for discussion at the supervisors meeting in a couple of weeks.
yeah, because it would be
Or-
great
or
if
Tuesday.
you guys, if towns could discuss different ideas they have as to what that policy would say.
Yep. Absolutely. I
All right,
know,
I'll get that out to you guys.
I know Supervisor Quigley's board from town of Ulster did do something, and he circulated a local law, I think, that they were going to adopt, but I don't remember exactly all the details of
Okay, and I'm also going to, I'm a member of
it. Excuse me,
the,
guys, can you just, thanks, appreciate it.
I'm a member of the New York State Bar Association State and Local Government Attorney Section. And we have, boards where we write to each other. I will put in a request to see if anybody else has already done a policy that they'd be willing to share with us.
Okay. Okay,
All right?
sounds great. Do you have a need for an executive session? We'll do the in memoriam. And so we'll do the in memoriam first, and then I'll make the motion for the executive session. So in memoriam tonight, we're remembering Francis James Monte, Anthony Berenger, Wendy Avery, Wendy Small, Joseph Geiselhart, Diana Depew, Daniel Rose Jr., Paul Cunningham, and I'd like to add all the families affected by the recent shootings in Texas and in Tulsa, and probably other places too. Buffalo. The people of Ukraine and all suffering worldwide from COVID-19 virus. I'd like to make a motion that we enter into executive session to discuss, think how I need to word this, a particular person or particular persons involving an appointed board.
Do we have to say it?
Yes.
8:40.
8:40. Thank you, Kate.
You made that.
I'll make
And
that
I'm
motion.
second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Mary
Do you
Lou, I-
need me for this, or am I going